some of these classes lied to us. What they showed before launch, the flashy moves, the dramatic trailers, the power fantasies, a few of them lived up to the hype, but others felt completely different once I actually got my hands on them. Now that Elden Ring Nightreign is finally out, I've played every class, tested a lot of builds, and died more times than I care to admit, and it's clear, some Nightfarers are a dream to play, and some are totally screwed. Before the game dropped, I ranked all 8 classes based on what we thought we knew, based on the trailers, the dev interviews, and a lot of hopeful theory crafting. But this is the definitive list on how each character plays, their abilities, movesets, hell, even the beginning parts of some of their remembrances. Don't worry, I'll try not to spoil everything, just giving you the basics of the story. This is how each class actually feels to play after hours of runs, boss fights, relic builds, and co-op madness. And let me tell you, my ranking has changed a lot. So let's break this down. From the most disappointing pick to the Nightfarer that I can't stop using, no matter what my team is doing. Starting with number 8, the one that just didn't work for me, no matter how hard I tried. It honestly hurts putting the Guardian this low, because if you watch my pre-launch video, you'll remember I had this class sitting comfortably at number 5. I praised it as noble, immovable, a walking stronghold who could hold the line when no one else would. And to be fair, that fantasy is still here. The Guardian should be the backbone of any team, the tank, the protector, the one that stands when everyone else falls. But after playing Elden Ring Nightreign for real, I gotta be honest, the Guardian doesn't hold up. Not in solo play, and not nearly as well as I'd hoped in co-op either. Here's the real problem. Yes, the Guardian is built around tanking, high poise, great defense, a tower shield the size of a wagon door. All good things. But in a game like Nightreign, where aggro isn't controllable, and enemy AI isn't focused on threat generation like in an MMO, your role as tank doesn't matter if the enemies just walk right past you. You're not pulling threat, you're not locking down a boss, you're just there, taking hits, no one's throwing at you, while your teammate's getting shredded across the map. And I get it, if you're playing with an organized co-op team, Guardian can still have his role. That ultimate, Wings of Salvation, is amazing when it lands. A radiant Aegis that protects your allies, reduces damage, speeds up stamina regen, and gives stagger immunity. But again, here lies a problem. While it's active, you're not fighting. You're standing still, shield in the dirt, hoping everyone else makes it out okay. You're literally watching the fight happen without you. In solo play, it's even worse. You don't have anyone to protect. You're just a slow, underpowered character with no real burst, no reliable damage output, and no crowd control that works when you need it the most. The whirlwind is still there for knocking up smaller enemies, but it don't have the oomph of the Raiders Retaliate. His halberd feels clunky and underwhelming compared to the fluidity of classes like Wylder or the devastating power of Raider. You're swinging late, you're whiffing more than you hit, and while Whirlwind can still launch the enemies again, the setup rarely comes together like they do in the trailers. I'll give him the title of Master of Guard Counters though, due to his halberd shield combo. Look, what do I still think of anyone who mains Guardian and does well? Well, they are the stuff legends are made of. That's someone who knows how to make the most out of a limited kit and squeeze every ounce of value out of a class that the game doesn't always reward. But that doesn't make the class great, that makes the player great. Even with all the negatives, the lore behind the Guardian is still rock solid. You want to love this character. You start your remembrance by talking to the Iron Menial, one of the more grounded quest givers in the game. He sends you out to defeat a rogue golem in a remote corner of Limveld, a big stomping brute that actually drags you into one of the better early game arena fights. It's tough, especially solo. The golem can bug out and teleport back to its spawn point if you pull it too far, which, if you've done it, you know how frustrating it can be with any boss in this game. Once you beat it, you get the Stone Stake, a relic tied to a cursed volume, and maybe the key to understanding what happened to Guardian's original flock. Remembrance 2 dives deeper into the tragedy. You meet the spectral merchant who gives you the Eerie Charm, a gift that triggers Guardian's collapse back at the round table. He faints, overwhelmed by the memories of a lost order, and then you have to make a brutal choice. You track the merchant down again, and this time you have to kill him. Not for vengeance, but to protect the new flock the Guardian has found. It's poetic, it's tragic, and it still tells one of the more somber stories in Nightfare lineup. But no amount of good lore makes up for how hollow the gameplay feels. When you're stuck swinging that halberd into thin air while your teammates are screaming for help halfway across the arena. So what are my final thoughts on the Guardian? Well, the pros: it still has one of the best visual designs, still has some of the best lore. When the stars align, that Wings of Salvation ultimate feels amazing. And if you love being the anchor for your squad, the unsung hero holding the line, Guardian can still deliver those moments. But for me, the fun just isn't there consistently. You're too slow, you're too situational, and way too underpowered in solo play. That's why Guardian, once sitting strong at number 5, now finds himself at the bottom of my list. Sliding into number 7 spot is a character who actually moved up a place since my original list. However, it's a close thing. She's still battling it out with Guardian for who can feel the most underpowered. I'm talking, of course, about the Recluse. A mad alchemist, a creeping curse in the backline, and the only spellcaster in this game who feels like she's doing high-stakes chemistry experiment in the middle of a boss fight. Now don't get me wrong, I want to love the Recluse. I do love her look, the draping soot-stained robes, the glowing sigils, the slick animations. Her dodge animations are easily the smoothest of all the mages. And when her cocktail hits just right, it's a spectacle. Colors, particles, status effects going off like fireworks. But beneath all that style is a class that is constantly starving for FP, for essence, and for a little bit of breathing room. Recluse is the most resource-intensive Nightfarer in the game, period. You're micromanaging your FP, your positioning, your elemental extractions, and your cocktail mix, all while trying to dodge boss attacks. Playing her can feel like trying to speedrun a chemistry final while being hunted by a werewolf. You're so focused on making the mix work that you forget to actually cast it. Her ultimate, the Soul Blood Song, is the reason she edges out Guardian on this list. When used correctly, it paints blood sigils on nearby enemies, and allies that strike those enemies regenerate HP and FP. And that's insanely good, especially in co-op. It's a team carrying move, but the Recluse has a major problem. In solo play, she feels almost as fragile and ineffective as the Guardian, and that should never be the case for a mage. She's better than Guardian only because she can still function in both co-op and solo. Her support tools are useful, her AoE potential is high, but unless you're already a min-maxing FP economist, this is not a class that rewards you quickly. You have to grind and you'll have to get good. Otherwise, it's chaos. But here's where things start to shine, not in gameplay, but in lore. Recluse's story unfolds like a cursed book you shouldn't be reading. Her remembrance path starts simply enough, but quickly becomes one of the most unsettling threads in the game. It begins when you defeat a Night Lord while playing as Recluse. Any expedition will do, hell even the Trisophilos fight counts. And doing so unlocks chapter 2 of her journal. Return to Roundtable Hold, inspect the page, and your descent begins. You're guided by the Iron Menial, a bizarre, wrapped figure residing in the western wing of the Hold. He doesn't explain much, just commands you to retrieve a Night Shard from a night-tainted enemy as proof of your devotion. Complete another expedition as Recluse, and you'll receive the shard as part of your end-of-run rewards. When you return, he's moved next to the small jar bazaar, waiting. You hand over the shard, and he gives you the Recluse's chalice. But then, here's where it gets weird. You're allowed to take the shard back from him. No resistance, no reaction. Like it was meant to happen. That ends this remembrance step, but it also unlocks a layer of lore that raises real questions. Was this a transaction, a test, or a communion? So why does Recluse sit at number 7? Because despite her visual brilliance and her high ceiling, she just isn't practical for most players. She's squishy, she's chaotic. Her playstyle demands constant focus, and the return on that investment isn't always worth it. She doesn't scale powerfully unless you master her system, and even then, one bad cocktail mix or FP drain can leave you helpless. Plus, it doesn't help that the staffs in the game suck ass. And yet, despite all that, she's still better than Guardian. If only because she can make someone else's run easier too. Her ultimate can save your team, her AoE can wipe rooms, and her presence adds flavor and flair to any squad. I still believe that anyone who mains the Recluse and does it well are absolute mad geniuses. But in a game this punishing, where the margin for error is razor thin, being a brilliant glass cannon isn't enough. And if we're being honest, sometimes it just feels like she's too busy making potions to fight a war. Once considered a top tier pick, the Revenant has taken a tumble down this list. Not because she's weak, but because the meta has caught up to her. She's still a stunningly unique support/summoner hybrid with gorgeous design, fantastic lore, and deeply satisfying high skill ceiling. But in the cold, brilliant light of optimized Nightreign runs, she's starting to show her cracks, both literally and mechanically. Let's start with her core identity, the Ghost Commander. The Revenant is a porcelain doll animated by soul magic, haunting the battlefield with summoned spirits and a miniature family of ghostly allies. She's a backline class built around timing, micromanagement, and field control. On paper, she sounds like a dream. In practice, it's a juggling act, and sometimes the balls just drop. Her necromancy passive is still one of the coolest mechanics in the game. When she or her summoned spirits land the finishing blow on an enemy, that enemy's ghost rises up and fights for you. These phantoms are auto-targeting, temporary allies that add a layer of pressure and chaos to any fight. It's extremely stylish, satisfying, and can be super effective. But that's the thing. It only really shines when you're already dominating the flow of combat. And that's not easy when her summon spirit mechanic slows everything down. The Revenant's ghost family, Helen, Frederick, and Sebastian each offer unique utility. Helen darts around with a rapier, Frederick smashes things with a bone club, and Sebastian drops AoEs like a haunted trebuchet. But summoning them requires pulling up a radial menu, selecting them mid-fight, and dealing with a painfully deliberate cast time. That's fine in casual play, but in higher tier fights where tempo and responsiveness rule the day, it's clunky. Worse, you can only have one family member on the field at a time, and once they're out, they tend to wander or whiff their intended targets. Her ultimate art, Immortal March, is undeniably powerful. It revives down teammates in range, makes allies briefly invincible, and empowers all of your summoned units to unleash one final devastating attack. It's flashy, it's clutch, and when it hits, it hits. You can literally bring a fight back from the brink of destruction multiple times per boss. But it also demands a ton of prep and perfect positioning. Meanwhile, faster, more reactive ults like the Guardians can turn fights with half the effort and no windup. Revenant's stat line leans into faith and FP, and she benefits hugely from incantations, but her extremely low health pool makes her a liability in solo play, or when enemy aggro shifts unexpectedly. She's extremely dependent on her summons and team to protect her, and if caught mid-cast or while trying to swap family members, you'll explode. And then there's her remembrance path. It's flavorful, deeply tied to her backstory, as a cursed sorceress sealed in a doll's shell. But the actual gameplay loops, they're some of the least rewarding of the cast. Her early journal chapters require basic Nightlord kills, and you eventually work with the Iron Menial to unlock her unique relic, Revenant's Chalice, and the small makeup brush, which boosts powers when summons are active. It's cool in theme, but neither item radically changes her kit or shores up her weaknesses. So why did she drop to number 6? Because while Revenant can be incredible, everything she does is just a little bit slower and clunkier, and more conditional than her competition. Guardian is easier to execute and delivers more consistent team value, and the Raider and Duchess bring tempo and control without needing a flowchart. And Revenant's reliance on situational passives and manual summoning cycles means she gets outpaced when fights escalate. She's still fun, still stylish, still worth mastering if you're the kind of player who thrives on puppet master gameplay and long-term payoff. But compared to where she sat early on up in the top 3, she's just outclassed by classes that get better results faster and cleaner. In the right hands, a ghostly queen of battlefield chaos. In an average run, a pretty doll who shatters under pressure. Okay, so this one surprised me a little bit. The Executor, formerly sitting down at 7th place in my original ranking, the only Nightfare class I said I probably wouldn't touch on day 1, has now clawed his way up to number 5. But let's be honest, it's not that the Executor pulled ahead, it's that the others just fell behind. Revenant dropped in efficiency, Guardian went the way of Godwin the Golden and lost his soul early, And as the dust settled, the Executor stayed right where he was, fierce, demanding, uncompromising, but suddenly more viable by comparison. Now let me be clear, I'm still bad at parries, always have been. Sekiro's counter system was basically a rhythm game I played with 2 left hands. So yes, playing Executor is still a personal challenge, but after getting my hands on him in Nightreign and unlocking his ultimate aspect of the Crucible of the Beast, I can't lie, the transformation feels fucking amazing. We now know what his beast form looks like. It's alpine and almost divine. It's a primal rebuke of all things unworthy, and when you activate it, your damage and stance breaking potential go through the roof. This is a transformation and a message to your enemies, saying you were judged and found wanting. But let's rewind to the core kit. Executor's playstyle is all about precision punishes. This class isn't about failing your weapon or panic rolling, it forces you to wait and watch. Then it delivers surgical death. His signature ability, Demonic Sword, is a high commitment parry that can counter not just melee but magic and projectiles. And it's not a reactive block then counter. You have to call your shot, activate it early, and trust your read. When it lands, it's pure Sekiro energy. And I respect that, even if I still whiff the timing like a clown in a fencing mask. His dueling potential is elite, one-on-one with the right timing, Executor dominates. But throw him into a room full of dogs, imps, or lightning birds, and his weaknesses show fast. No real crowd control, no panic buttons. He either plays perfect, or he doesn't play long. Or he's a damn computer-ran version of that cheating son of a... Sorry about that, where were we? That high skill ceiling is both his biggest pro and his harshest con. You want anime samurai moments? Executor is your guy. You want margin for error? Pick someone else. And the lore? It runs deep. Executor's remembrance chain kicks off in Limveld with a deceptively easy objective. Kill a stray bloodhound knight, collect some blessed flowers, and paint the Erd tree. You talk to the guardian, you speak with the priestess, you give the flowers to the iron menial. It's quiet, reflective, almost spiritual, until you realize the flowers are blooming from cursed graves, and the canvas you're painting is bleeding. Your reward? The Blessed Flowers relic, +3 dexterity and passive healing when wielding the cursed sword, and the Executor's Chalice, which allows you to swap between blue, gold, and wildcard relic slot on the fly. It's not the flashiest reward tree, but it complements the class perfectly. You build around precision and sustain, not brute force. So why the shift from 7th to 5th? Simple. The others got messier, and Executor stayed honest. In a meta where half the cast struggles with identity crisis or mechanical overload, Executor knows exactly what he is. And when you press that ultimate and watch him erupt into the primal beast, you feel it. The timing, the tension, the reward. No, I'm still not great at him, and yes, I still panic roll like a scrub when I should be locking in a counter. But Executor is the kind of class I want to get better at. He makes every clean kill feel earned, every perfect parry feel divine, and in Nightreign, that kind of clarity goes a long way. If you're ready to suffer, to be a sweat lord, and to style on your team and foes alike, Executor awaits. Just don't bring him into a room full of flying dogs, trust me on that one. But while the Executor climbs the ranks on steer steadiness, our next Nightfarer is suffering from the opposite problem. Brilliance that burns just a little too fast. The Duchess may still be royalty, but she slipped a couple steps down the throne. Let's be clear, Duchess didn't fall far because she got worse. If anything, she's even sharper now than she was when we first ranked her near the top. But with more hours in the game, her strengths and her very real weaknesses have come into focus. She's the game's most stylish assassin, and arguably still the queen of finesse. But she's also a wet paper towel with a crown if you misstep. This is especially exposed early in your runs. Duchess has the worst survivability out of any Nightfarer. Her health pool is laughable, and while her dodge roll has the longest iframes in the game, the margin for error is still a razor thin. One bad read, one mistimed dodge, and she hits the ground harder than this game crashes when the frame rates drop on PC. But when it clicks, she becomes a backstabbing goddess. Her signature skill, Restage, is still a top tier damage amplifier if you use it correctly. The key is timing it after your team's already stacked damage on a boss. Not preemptively like most players who mess it up. Fire it off too soon and you waste the entire point of the skill. Fire it off on time and you essentially replay the last 10 seconds of pain the enemy just endured, and it's beautiful carnage in motion. Her ultimate finale might be the best support ult in the game, hands down, turning your whole squad invisible mid-fight. That's not just clutch, it's tactical repositioning at its finest. Stuck behind bad angles, aggro swaps, and covered mobs, Duchess solves all of that in one elegant spin. Boss on a rampage, vanish, reset, re-engage. But none of that changes the reality. Duchess is a glass cannon. She's got one chance, one opportunity, or she could lose it all in the moment. And that's why she dropped from 2 to 4th on my list. Lore-wise, her story is one of tragedy and vengeance. The last heir of the disgraced royal line, Duchess walks the shadows not to serve justice, but to rewrite the rules of power in her favor. Her remembrance missions dive deep into her ties with other Nightfarers, especially Wylder, Raider, and Revenant, revealing a surprisingly heartfelt subplot beneath all the bloodletting. From gathering golden dew to arm Wylder's blade, to sharing quiet moments over homemade bread, her questlines are dripping with atmosphere and emotional nuance. She's both a killer and a queen in exile, reclaiming her throne one cutthroat at a time. So what are my thoughts? Duchess is still elite. In the right hands, she's untouchable. But the reason she's no longer in the top 3, she became a bit too much of a gamble. Her floor is low, but her ceiling is extremely sky high, and most players are still figuring out on which end they'll hit first. She's a surgical instrument, not a blunt weapon, and unless your execution is flawless, her royal run might end sooner than you expect. If the Duchess is about patience, timing, and precision, then Wylder is her chaotic opposite, a storm of raw instinct and high-flying improvisation. The two may have fought on opposite ends of the battlefield, but they're closer in rank than ever before. And while the Duchess may be royalty, our number 3 pick is something even rarer in Nightreign. Consistently unpredictable, endlessly versatile, and outrageously fun. Let's not pretend here. We're not picking Wylder because you like clean duels or predictable win states. You're picking Wylder because you want to zipline into the chaos, toss enemies off a cliff, and slam down a meteor with a smirk on your face. And in Nightreign, the devs clearly realized just how powerful that fantasy could be, because Wylder is no longer a gimmick. He's the most complete jack-of-all-trades Nightfare in the game, and that's not a backhanded compliment. His early game health pool is solid, his base stats give him access to more weapons, relics, synergies right out of the gate than most anyone else, and his mobility, still top tier. You can solo with him or group with him, and wildest of all, run 3 Wylders together and never feel like you're lacking a role. That's how well tuned he is. But first, let's talk about his mechanics. Wylder blends rogue mobility, warrior aggression, and a bit of trickster energy into one kinetic package. He's all about freedom of movement, improvisation, and nowhere is that more obvious than in his hook shot chain, the grappling hook that basically defines his kit. With it, he can yank enemies out of formation into kill zones, fling himself across vertical arenas for rapid repositioning, chain into air combos and terrain-based attacks for insane style points. It disrupts snipers and casters before they even finish casting. And it's not just a traversal tool, it's an extension of Wylder himself, and rewards creative aggression like no other class. His ultimate still slaps, literally. Wylder drives an iron stake into the air with enough force to stagger bosses, clear out clustered mobs, and send limbs flying like popcorn kernels. The explosion has a deceptively wide radius, and does exceptional poise damage, which makes it incredible in co-op situations where you need breathing room or want to chain staggers. It's pure spectacle and function in a rare combo. Also, let's not overlook this. Wylder's passive gives him a free death once per time you go through a Site of Grace. That's not a small perk. Whether you've mistimed a dodge, get mobbed, or fly face first into a boss's hammer, Wylder just says, "Nap," and keeps going. For a character who lives on the edge, that one bailout is a big difference between reckless and strategically insane. Now that Nightreign is out, Wylder's more than just flair. He's effectiveness with flair. His base defenses are still lighter than Guardian's, but no longer feel paper thin. His greatsword combo is now one of the most responsive and stylish movesets in the game, especially when grappling in mid-swing. In vertical zones, like the Fracture Towers in Limveld, his movement becomes a flat-out advantage. Wylder's personal story missions, the Remembrances, add surprising depth to his rogue persona. They show us a different side, the sentimental one. In Remembrance 1, you're sent out to retrieve a whetstone hidden deep in a cave of Limveld. It's not just about combat, you're also repairing an old relic, an earring, that you eventually give to Duchess in a moment of real emotional payoff. This whole arc hints at a layered backstory between the two Nightfarers. Rough camaraderie, maybe even a past romance, and culminates in you earning the Slate Whetstone relic. In Remembrance 2, you explore the Round Table Hold itself, piecing together cryptic letters and uncovering a hidden crypt beneath the main hall. Inside, you confront the Iron Menial and unlock a deeper relic rite tied to Wylder's origins and forgotten comrades. It's slower paced, but it enriches the idea that Wylder isn't just some madman with a grappling hook. He's someone carrying a past just barely hidden under the jokes and bravado. So why does Wylder take the bronze? Because he's the most reliable wildcard in the game. That sounds like a contradiction, but it fits him perfectly. His highs are extremely high, stylish, and satisfying, and explosively powerful. And even his lows, misfires, mistimed grapples, flubbed ultimates can be recovered from thanks to his passive and fast movement. He's not just the class you pick for fun, he's the one you stick with because you're having fun and performing. He's the most dangerous daredevil you've seen since Ghost Rider, and that's why Wylder makes the leap into the top 3. Not because he's changed, but because the game finally caught up to what he's been capable of. We've had rogues, tacticians, high-flying grapplers, but now it's time to put the finesse away and break out the blunt force trauma. Because coming in at number 2 and rocketing up the ranks from all the way from dead last is the one-man siege engine, the alpha frontliner, the unstoppable juggernaut, the Raider. This is both a reevaluation and a redemption arc. The Raider was once dismissed as one-dimensional, powerful yes, but too slow, too easy to read, too inflexible. That version is gone. Not really, he's still here, but he's just badass. In Nightreign, the Raider isn't just viable, he's a terror. And the only class in the entire game where running 3 of them actually steamrolls entire areas. He's a sledgehammer to the face of precision metas. He's proof that brute force, when properly refined, becomes its own kind of elegance. Why the big jump? Everything we praised about Wylder, the health pool, solo viability, insane damage ceiling, co-op synergy, Raider does that, but meaner and cleaner. Wylder ziplines into battle, Raider detonates into it. His kit's been sharpened somehow into a massive hammer, don't ask, just accept it. His relics, refined, and the game now gives him the arena, control tools, and solo resilience of a god. And let's be real, this is the only class in Nightreign that straight up feels like a Souls boss when you play it right. The Raider is pure pressure. He doesn't play the game, he forces the game to play around him. His core gameplay loop is about controlling space with raw power, charging into fights with shoulder bash momentum, and dishing out devastating burst combos that turn elite enemies into chew toys. Dual great axes? Yes. Charge leaped slams from halfway across the screen? Also yes. AoE shockwaves, stagger combos, and some of the highest poise break scaling in the game? Absolutely. Where other classes worry about spacing, stamina, animation locks, the Raider just shrugs and keeps swinging. Here's where things get clever. Retaliate is not just a get hit and hit back harder skill. It's a psychological threat. The first stomp boosts your posture and subtly baits enemies. They take the bait and strike you. The second stomp erases them with a massive earth cratering blast that breaks stances, disrupts groups, and punishes aggression better than anything short of a parry. You create pressure just by charging it up, forcing even bosses to delay or reposition. It's a crowd-controlled dream. And then you've got the ultimate, Totem Stella. This one deserves way more attention than it gets. Raider drives a jagged cursed totem into the ground, creating a shockwave zone that pulses mini AoE quakes, a buff field that gives poise and stamina regained to allies, and a terrain shift, literally lifting the earth and putting Raider at elevation, which in vertical zones makes him king of the hill and a wrecking ball at the bottom. It's the only ultimate in the game that reshapes the battlefield, and it's unbelievably good in both solo boss fights and chaotic mob clears. His passive is Iron Stance. It's subtle, but game-changing. After you land a full charged heavy, your poise is massively increased for 5 seconds. Stack that with poise boosting relics and totem buffs, and you become functionally uninterruptible. You become the Juggernaut, bitch! And now we get into his remembrances, and this is where the Raider really surprises us. Not with his brute strength, but with his emotional clarity. All 3 of his remembrances are solo duels, set in custom arenas that feel like a Soulsborne take on For Honor. No distractions, just you, your build, and your skill. Remembrance 1 is the Coliseum of the Cord. You speak with the Iron Menial, activate the memory, and enter the Coliseum to face a brutal gladiator. The reward? The Torn Braided Cord, a relic that enhances your Retaliate skill. It's a fight about rhythm, learning to trade blows with timing and menace. But narratively, it's more than just a training arc. The cord belonged to a comrade, a fallen warrior, and returning it to the menial creates a quiet but potent moment of honor and loss, showing that Raider's fury isn't mindless, it's rooted in legacy. In the second remembrance, we go against the Elder Lion. This one dials things up, a faster and smarter opponent, the Blinded Elder Lion. Still a Coliseum fight, but now you have to trade speed for power, aggression for discipline. It's a clash of predators. You win not by overpowering, but outlasting, landing enough two-handed strikes to stagger the beast, keeping close, staying unafraid. Victory here unlocks the Relic Chalice that enhances your AoE capabilities, crucial for making Totem Stella a truly top-tier tool. And while Wylder's memories speak to personal bonds and Duchess to war crimes and redemption, Raiders are about duel, born honor, and power through perseverance. Fitting, really. But why is he now at number 2? Out of all the characters, he's had the biggest glow up in Nightreign, hands down. Raider's the first Nightfarer that finally hits that magical point where power, reliability, and style converge. He's not just some meathead pick, he's a tactical bruiser, a boss slayer's dream, and in co-op, he becomes an army with a pulse. His rise up the list isn't because the game changed, it's because we did. Or more accurately, I learned how to wield him properly. And that's why he's at number 2. Because in this world of shadows and relics and twisted timelines, sometimes the simplest thing is still the most effective. A giant man with a giant axe who refuses to die. And at number 1, the one class that never moved, never wavered, and probably never will, we have the Ironeye. Call it bias, say it's a bow addiction thing, blame it on years of stealth archer playthroughs and legless fantasies. But unless FromSoft radically rewires how I approach a game, the Ironeye is going to sit comfortably at the top of my Nightfarer's rankings. Let's get something clear. This isn't just the bow guy. The Ironeye is a masterclass in range dominance, a reimagining of the entire archetype. And just like the Raider and Wylder, he can be run in a full 3-party squad of nothing but Ironeyes. Except here's the twist. That comp isn't just viable, it's surgical. And how I beat the damn augur. Yeah, that floating sky amoeba of misery, its stupid nukes never touched the ground. So why is he number 1? Let's get into it. Ironeye flips every expectation you had about archers in Elden Ring. He's fast, slippery, and hits like a sledgehammer at range. You're plinking targets from safety, dancing between blades, firing mid-roll, and keeping up the assault like a machine gun sniper hybrid. The whole time repositioning to fire a new volley down the enemy's throat. You've got no arrow count to babysit, just a resource bar that keeps your arrows flowing and your options open. You've got roll, shot integrations so smooth it feels like a Devil May Cry character wandered into the lands between. And you've got mobility buffs out the gate. More dodge range, better sprint, and nimbleness that turns clunky archer builds on their head. But that's just the chassis. The real magic, it's in the mechanics. Ironeye's core ability is Mark, and this alone could have earned him a top 3 slot. You dash through an enemy, land a quick melee strike, and apply a universal vulnerability debuff. Every bit of damage from you, your team, even the environment gets amplified. And we're not talking about a slight increase. These things melt bosses. Used right, Mark is the linchpin of some of the highest DPS rotations in the entire game. Also, it's great if your stamina is low, you can use it as a secondary oh shit button. Want to get spicy? Dash in, mark the target, then shove your ult up his ass. Speaking of the ult, it's called Single Shot, and it does exactly what it sounds like. One devastating arrow that ignores armor, pierces through enemy lines, causes AoE destruction, and grants you full invincibility while you draw on fire. In one move, it clears waves, stuns elites, turns boss fights into your personal highlight reel. Now imagine you dash through a Night Lord, mark them, then fire your fully charged single shot directly through their chest. Their health drops, the music swells, your friends scream in Discord. That's Ironeye gameplay in a nutshell. Let's not forget his lore. Ironeye's story runs deep, and it's personal. In his first remembrance, he's hunting down a traitor. Not just any traitor, but a version of himself, corrupted and twisted, hiding out in Limveld. This is a mirror match with real teeth, and your first taste of how dangerous your own skills can be in the wrong hands. The second remembrance, it hits harder. You're told to execute another defector, only to realize that this mission is more of a reckoning. You're sent to kill Dark Drift Knight named Fulgar, a pseudo Night Lord with lightning vulnerabilities and massive reach. It's one of the toughest solo content pieces in the game, and a test of everything Ironeye stands for. These remembrances reveal more than just backstory. They show us the weight Ironeye carries, the betrayals, the secret brotherhoods, the hidden wars beneath the surface of the Nightreign's chaos. He's a ghost of old wars, the last of a lineage, and maybe the one with the cleanest kill shot in the game. Look, I'll be honest, Ironeye might not be for everyone. He's fast, unforgiving, and relies on brain power more than brute strength. But if you've ever played a stealth archer in Skyrim, if you've ever soloed a boss using nothing but patience and arrows, if you've ever wished bows felt right in a FromSoft game, then the Ironeye is your reward, your redemption, and he's here to reign. He's my number one not just because he's powerful, but because he feels like a love letter to every ranged player who stuck it out through clunky mechanics and half-baked builds. This time, we get to be the problem. So to all my fellow Ironeyes out there, may your arrows fly straight, your marks hit clean, and your single shot pierce gods. Let me know your builds down in the comments, especially if you've already cleared your first remembrance, because guys, we have entered the age of the bow, and we're taking the crown. Remember, you guys could join my Discord. It's always popping off with Theorycraft and Team Comp discussions. Join us, it's free to join, and honestly, the community is kind of insane, in the best way. And that's it, the full breakdown of every Nightfarer class ranked, with Ironeye holding strong at number 1. Whether you agree or disagree, or you're already typing out your personal tier list in the comments, I want to hear it. Let's be real, Nightreign is shaping up to be something totally different from Software. I genuinely think each one of these Nightfarers offers something wild for the right kind of player, so if you've got a favorite, or if you rolled in on launch day with your squad, drop your build ideas below. I read every single comment. And if you made it this far in the video, you know what to do. Like the video if you found it helpful, subscribe if you want more in-depth Nightreign content, and smack the bell so you don't miss my next upload. And if you really want to support the channel, hit that join button for exclusive videos, early access to boss guides, and a few surprises I've got planned. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you out there, Nightfarers. Remember, be good to each other. See you in the next video. Peace.